Hello, hello, hello. Oh, my voice went really high there. Whew. How are we doing? Enjoying the day? Oh, that did not sound convincing. Are you enjoying today? Still not convinced. Livvy, are you convinced? Livvy's the guide dog on stage with me, by the way, if anyone wanted to turn speaking to. Are you enjoying the day? Yes! I'll take that one. So welcome back. I hope you're enjoying this day of lessons, learnings, and I hope you're getting an opportunity to network with each other because, again, today's all about sharing best practice, sharing information, resources, and what you can do to start shaping change in your industry. So what we are going to be doing now is we're going to kickstart some of our demonstrations, and I'm really excited to kickstart our first one with Guide Dogs NI. We have Mark and Torie, and Torie's guide dog Livvy here. Now, fun fact, not he's wanted this fun fact, but I'm going to give it anyway. Me and Torie went to school together. Me and Torie, it was a very long time ago. Torie looks a lot younger than I do for that time. But we went to school together. We went to Jordanstown schools in Belfast for people who are deaf or visually impaired. And we were actually really good friends at school, have lost touch, and I've now seen Torie twice this year, probably more times than I've seen my own parents this year. So it's really nice to connect with Torie. But I'm really excited for this demonstration, so I'm not going to continue to waffle on. Mark, Torie, Livvy, the floor is yours.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Quinn from Guide Dogs NI. I'm stepping in for my colleagues on the sighted guiding team. So I am a white male with dark hair. I'm wearing our Guide Dogs uniform today, which is an inky blue jumper with a yellow Guide Dogs logo on it. The yellow is actually called Labrador yellow. And it provides, the dark blue and the light yellow provides good contrast. Almost as good as black and white, but it's keeping our core brand colours of the yellow and blue. And I'll let Torie introduce herself here.
So yes, I'm Torie, and I am, again, a white female, and I'm sort of average height, and I'm wearing a pale green shirt and grey trousers and black shoes. And I have shoulder-length hair. Well, that's not actually quite as long as that, but we'll improvise. And I also live with a vision impairment. And lying beside me is my second guide dog, Vivvy, who has just made herself nice and comfortable. She is a yellow lab retriever, and if you're lucky, she might go into split position, which she loves very much, and it is rather amusing, and she sticks her back legs out, and it's just fabulous.
That was great, Torie. So you might know Guide Dogs for our signature service, which obviously is our Guide Dogs, which Vivvy is an excellent representation of. So we're Guide Dogs, and we're here to help people with sight loss live the life they choose. Our expert staff, volunteers and dogs help people with sight loss live actively, independently and well. But what a lot of people don't know, we also work with children and young people through our rehabilitation service. So you may have heard of rehabilitation. We also work with adults for rehabilitation, using the long cane, independent living skills, in the kitchen. But rehabilitation is what do you do when, you're born without sight? You have to learn them skills from the start. So that might be, we have one example of a young boy that we had, and all he knew was the carpet in his living room. And then it's getting out to the hall, the tiles in the hall, getting outside to the concrete, feeling mummy's car, feeling the grass. So it's all building up them skills. And when he gets to school, that's okay. How do you find your way to the canteen? So we do that as well. We also work with friends and family of those with a vision impairment as well. We provide canine assisted and non-canine assisted services, information and advice, and something that's not on here, which is technology as well for those with a vision impairment. So we're here to talk today about sighted guiding, which is about creating a more accessible society for people with a vision impairment. So there's been a lot of talk today about different venues and maybe even some buildings that are at listed status, and how do you adapt them for somebody with a vision impairment? You maybe can't even put a strip of tape on these buildings to highlight that there's contrast there. So what do you do in the in-between? Sighted guiding is a great step in between for somebody with a vision impairment to come along. And we're going to talk a wee bit more with Torie about that in a wee second, but I'm just going to give you some of the top tips here. So top tips, if you're dealing with somebody with a vision impairment, they come through your door and you want to create as welcoming an environment as you would for anybody else. The top tips I can give is to introduce yourself, to ask the person if they need any assistance, to offer your arm, and to maintain open and effective communication. So we'll demonstrate some of that as well. But I suppose the reason we wanted to bring sighted guiding is although a lot of people, as I said, know about our guide dog service, for people who a guide dog's not suitable for, or who are long cane users, or if they do have a guide dog and it is perfectly suitable for, it's just about creating that friendly welcome for somebody and making sure that your environment is as open and as friendly as it can be. So I'll sit down beside Torie here, and I'll ask you, Torie, about some of your experiences.
Yep.
So can you tell me, because Torie is one of our trainers of our sighted guiding as well, can you just briefly explain to me what sighted guiding sort of means for you?
Okay, so sighted guiding is basically, it's as simple as it says. Someone with sight is coming along to assist someone without sight, if they want it. And it makes such a difference, because a lot of people want to help, but they don't want to be patronising, or you'll get the other extreme of you are grabbed. Now, that's going to get anybody's back up, because I don't know what your intentions are. And the amount of times I have been marched quite forcefully across roads that I don't want to cross, because a little old lady has decided I must need help. Whereas if someone comes along and actually says, if they introduce themselves and if they offer their arm, it just makes me feel in control. And it means then that if Mark's going to the bakery for the third time today and I don't want another cake, I can say, no, not today, and I can disengage. Whereas if I'm being grabbed, I'm not in control. And that's what it is all about. And one of our colleagues, Paula, who couldn't be here today, she would always use the expression of travelling up the lead and meeting the owner of the dog, because quite often everybody, it's, oh, there's Vivvy and there's Torie, So it's about travelling up that lead and saying, well, there's Torie and Vivvy, but most people obviously see Vivvy and it's like, oh yes, this is fabulous, and I'm sort of forgotten about it. But we've got thick skins, so we're well used to it. But no, it really is such a useful skill, and it's not rocket science, and it just is, again, you just come along and assisting someone if they need it. Now, obviously, if someone doesn't need it, that's okay too, but it's fabulous when it's done right. I stayed at a hotel last night, and the receptionist was taking me up to my room, and the first thing he said was, would you like to take my arm? And I just thought, happy days, this is fantastic. I'm sold now, because that was just a really good entry point in, whereas if he'd have grabbed me, that would have been a totally different experience.
And then I suppose at that stage, when somebody's grabbing you, the onus is on you, I suppose, at that stage to say, oh no, sorry, can you just, and that's putting that back on you. Whereas if somebody's coming and welcoming, you and saying, can I help you, essentially? And
also, if someone does grab you, that's automatically going to put my back up for a start. I'm going to remember that experience, and I'm going to think, I don't really want to go again, because they were a wee bit, they grabbed me and I didn't know what the crack was. Whereas, if someone does actually offer their arm, it's just such a fantastic experience, and so empowering as well.
Yeah, and I suppose the intent's there, but it's just maybe gone about it the wrong way, I suppose.
Yeah, there's no badness, but if it's done right, it's fantastic. But if it's done wrong, it can really have an impact.
And what about, can you give us a few examples of maybe just somewhere that you've been in Northern Ireland on your many travels? Tories as well travelled as, I don't even know how. Like you'd go, and as you say yourself, you'd go to the moon if we asked.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very confident, and that's because of obviously having the guide dog. But not everybody is that confident. But me and a couple of friends, we every couple of months, it's like do you want to go to? We went to see Les Mis in the Grand Opera House, and usually it's a case of I see the show advertised and I go, do you fancy going to such and such? And I was like, aye. And it's like, do you fancy a wee hotel stay as well? So, but everywhere we have been, it's been such a fantastic experience. We went to Titanic Belfast there about 3 years ago, and we're still talking about it today. We turned up and we... initially, whenever I rang up, because all three of us have guide dogs, and initially the receptionist said, it's a self-led tour. And we thought, okay. And we arrived at the reception desk on the day, not knowing how it would go. And one of the staff members, Pip, he came out and he offered us literally a one-to-one tour. It was fantastic. We did have the option of using the audio guide, but we decided we were getting much more information from what he was telling us. But the time that he took, to explain everything and to go into all the detail, it was just absolutely fantastic. And we still would talk about it today, because it just made our experience. Although I was... when we were sort of about halfway through the tour, we were having a bit of banter, and I says to him, Pip, what does an iceberg look like? And he says, oh, it's just a bit of ice. I'm like, oh, that's such a disappointing answer. But, I suppose it's just a bit of ice, but I wanted something a bit more. But, that really just, he made it work for us. And it was absolutely fantastic. I do have a bit of a confession to make, though. We do go to Derry every so often, but the only places we've been are food places. We've never done any touristy things, so we'll have to rectify that. But, even the fact that Vivvy is made welcome is fantastic. 99% of businesses welcome you with open arms, but all it does take is that 1% to either refuse because you've got a guide dog, or to offer you a lower standard of service. I have been in a restaurant, it was a good few years ago now, and I turned up and I was welcomed with, can you tie the dog up in the alleyway? Which didn't go down too well. And then, we were standing and I says, would you be able to read the menu? And the person goes, oh, this menu's going to take about half an hour for me to read. And I'm like, right. So it really wasn't going well at all. But the kicker was when she said, oh, sure, we'll sit you at the toilets in case anybody complains. Now, if she'd have worded that differently and said, look, the restaurant's a bit busy, we'll move you to a quieter area, that would have had a much better impact. When she kept going, oh, we don't know the rules and all this here, and it was just a really, really horrible experience. And anything I asked for on the menu, she wasn't willing to say whether they did it or didn't do it. So I was that upset and annoyed, and I just says, right, I'll have sausages and chips. And that was all right. It came out, and then she leaned over me to cut my food. And I was like, oh, no. So after I sort of gathered myself and I calmed down and all the rest of it, I contacted the Equality Commission for sort of guidance and advice on how to welcome assistance dog owners. And the business were all over me when they knew I was contacting the Equality Commission. Now, they did offer a meal voucher, but I wouldn't darken their door again because of how I was treated. Now, I did give it to another guide dog owner, and they were made most welcome, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. And it's 2025. It's not like guide dogs are a new thing. But
and it's a legal requirement
it is,
too.
yeah.
So, mm-hmm.
But I suppose it does bring up the question of, there are many different types of assistance dogs. But it also brings up the question of people bringing in maybe their emotional support dog, which again, they don't have any rights under the Equality Act or the Disability Discrimination Act, but also more stores becoming just pet friendly. It can be a bit of a turn off, I suppose, because, you know, if a pet is badly behaved, it's going to affect working dogs. It's also going to affect your experience as well. And it also means then, you know, what do you do if an assistance dog owner comes in as well? You know, who has the right to actually be there? You know, so it's quite a complicated area, but it's something that I think needs kept an eye on, you know, because obviously everybody has the right to be in places, but at the same time, you don't need to bring your little chihuahua in its little handbag, you know, whereas someone with a guide dog or any other assistance dog does actually need that. And I suppose also on that, you know, it's fantastic that I can take Vivvy anywhere. And people, I love when people will say, oh, I didn't actually realise there was a dog there, because it means then I know that she's lying, she's chilling, she's not acting the maggot, she's not looking for food or anything like that. But she needs that experience from puppyhood to know how to behave in coffee shops, how to behave, you know, in venues like this. You know, so it's very useful whenever our puppy raisers, our volunteer puppy raisers, are allowed to bring the guide dog pups in as well, because it's preparing them for their future as a potential guide dog.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we'll do a quick demo of the sighted guide in here just to show. And although we love Vivvy so much, it can be a wee bit distracting for this part, and all the attention is drawn to her. So we're just going to we're over here a wee second. Give me 2 wee seconds.
Yeah, work away.
There you go, Vivs. Good job. Right, so the first thing I would do, I suppose, is come up to Torie here, and I would just say, hello, Torie, my name's Mark. Can I help you at all today?
Yes, that would be perfect. So again, Mark's offering help. He's not just assuming that I need it. So he's offering it, and it's really important that you do introduce yourself, because by the time someone gets to your venue, it might be point B for you, but it might be point D, E, or F for the person with the vision impairment, because they have to actually learn how they're going to get to the venue. They have to plan how they're going to get to it. You know, so it can be, by the time someone gets to your venue, they could have quite a difficult or stressful journey. You know, so just having someone introducing themselves is just fantastic. Even if someone knows you, always introduce yourself and say who you are, because if I'm working Vivvy, I'm going to be in the zone. Whereas if someone says, "Oh, hi Torie, it's Mark," I know instantly, oh yes, they're for me. You know. Whereas if someone says, "Oh, hello," you know, and they don't tell me who they are, you know, I'm not going to know. Are you staff? Are you a cleaner? You know, who are you? So.
I felt that one, Torie, because sometimes I can forget to introduce myself again. Would you like to be guided on the left or the right-hand side today, Torie?
If you come round to my right, that would be fabulous.
No.
So again, Mark asked what side I'd like to be guided on. Some people might have a specific side. They might have maybe no vision on one side. They might have some vision on the other. They might have a hearing impairment. So again, always ask what side. Now obviously, if I had Vivvy, most of our dogs work on the left. So again, you'd approach from the opposite side. So I'm going to hold Mark's arm in what's known as the C grip. Now, that's basically just best practice. You don't really need to worry about the technicalities too much. But you know, just that act of offering your arm is just fantastic. Now, if I had maybe a balance problem, I might link. Or if I was maybe two men, I might hold on to the person's shoulder. But you'll not be the first person to guide that person, and they'll very quickly tell you what they need. And again, when you're taking off, you would just be walking at a normal pace. it's important that you're relaxed as well. I've had people when they're guiding me holding their arm up like this. You're going, do you normally walk like that? And they're going, no. So again, you'd be walking half a step ahead and you just walk normally. So are we?
Yeah, we're going to take a wee right here, but it's a wee bit narrow, Torie.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is just drop my hand behind here. You're still in control because you've got that C grip.
That's perfect.
And then we're just going to turn it right around here.
Perfect.
And I'll take you back the way. We'll guide you this way.
And, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just stopping.
Mark was, that was a narrow space there. So again, you would drop your arm in behind. And then obviously once you'd come back out again, you would explain that you have actually come back out.
That was another dig because I forgot to do that.
I've had people who have kept their arm in that narrow space position for maybe about 10 minutes. You go, this narrow space has gone on for ages. And then they're like, oh no, we've come out of that ages ago. And you're like, oh right, okay.
And another thing I suppose too is just to explain, we're on carpet here, but if the surface was to change, it's just to explain that. So if you're coming on to particularly something which could be dangerous, which could be like cobblestones or something like that, it's just to explain that you are coming on to that. Or even if the ground is wet or something like that, Torie, that would be important as well.
Yeah, that would be very important.
Right, I'm just going to take you back to your seat here and we'll explain how that is. So we're just going to go around the way. Right, Torie, the seat in front of me is, it has back and two sides. It's not the most easy to explain of seats, actually. It's quite unusual. It's almost on a C grip itself, if that makes sense. Yeah. But it has no wheels on it, so it's not going to move in you when I sit
perfect.
here.
Happy days.
I'm just going to set my arm down here and you can feel with your non-guiding hand.
Yep, I've got it. So again, Mark didn't grab my arm to put it into the seat. He used his guiding arm, which is kind of is so useful. It's almost like a pointer. And then it meant that I could use my free arm to actually find the seat. And again, it's not about, you don't have to be walking along going, oh, we're going on to a green carpet and, oh, there's bits of blue on it and, oh, but it's just about peppering your conversation with those wee important details. Obviously, again, if your venue has stairs, again, you would, will we demonstrate? Will we pretend that there's stairs?
We can do, yeah. So I would, so again, I'd be guiding you on this side.
Yep.
And then I might say, so there's stairs going up, they're going up the way, Torie.
Yep.
Are you happy enough? So I'll give you, would you rather grab the handle on your left or right hand side?
The left.
Left hand side, so I'm going to go here.
Yep, so.
And there's the handle there.
Perfect, yep.
Imaginary handle. And we're going to make our way up here now.
Yep.
Again, you're in control there.
Yep, perfect.
Perfect.
Happy days. So again, it really is as simple as that. Obviously, if you're going through doors, manners kind of go out the window because a lot of people will hold back, but I'm not going to know what's behind the door. There could be stairs, there could be, anything at all. So it's really important that you would go through the door first. And it's really important that the person with a vision impairment is on the hinge side as much as possible, because again, that means that you're in control. You would use your guiding arm to open the door, and then the person would follow down with their free arm, and they would then hold the door open. Obviously, again, if I had Vivvy, you would just treat it like a narrow space, or if the door's automatic, you would just walk through just side by side. Loos, again, can be a bit of a touchy subject. They don't have to be. There's nothing relating to personal care at all. It would literally be, again, most venues have an accessible loo, and it would literally be taking someone up to the door and saying, do you need the layout explained? If they say yes, then you would, the loo's in the back wall as you're sitting in the loo, the sink's to your right and the dryer's to the right of that, and then you would leave them to it and obviously meet them outside again. If you're leaving or finishing assistance, again, tell the person that you're leaving. If you're in a restaurant, for example, and you're getting someone a cup of tea, again, you would just say, oh, I'll be back in a wee minute, I need to get the milk. And then obviously say when you've come back again. because there's nothing worse than talking to nobody and thinking the person's there and having a full-on conversation. And but if you're actually leaving someone, if you're finishing assistance, again, you would check to make sure the person knew where they were. If they didn't, you would then obviously, if it was out in the street, you would obviously walk with them until they knew, oh, Boots is to your left and City Hall's to your right. Again, don't just leave the person. Again, with a guide dog, it's really important. I know it's hard, but if you can, ignore the dog as much as possible, because Vivvy's a sucker for a pet and she just loses the run of herself. But by all means, you can ask. But if someone says, "Oh no, I would rather you didn't," don't take it personally. Also, the likes of hotels and whatever. If someone is staying and it's a buffet service for the breakfast, go up and get the person, because it's going to be awkward enough me going up trying to wrangle a dog and my cups of tea and my cereal and all the rest of it. I was staying a couple of weeks ago in the Leonardo Hotel in Belfast, and there was a wee, he must have only been about 19, and it was his second shift. And rather than all three of us sort of going, actually, we'll have this, we kind of thought, right, we'll give our order all at the one time so he's not having to make multiple trips. And we must have totally bamboozled him, because he came back, or he went away with all our bits and bobs, and then someone else came back and says, "Oh, I'm here to take your breakfast order." And I says, "Sure, we just ordered our breakfast." And I was like, "Aye," but the person got a wee bit confused. So I was like, "Oh, bless him." So I think we might have made the wrong impression on him that day. Have I missed anything?
No, I think that's good. It was sort of a whistle-stop tour of our training, but we do provide it. So do definitely get in touch with us. So there's, it's for the professionals, it's for the public, and we do it for friends and family of those living with a vision impairment as well. There's 1 hour sessions, 2 hour sessions, 3 hour sessions, and that can be in person or online. Oh, it says that there. Good. I didn't think it did. So definitely do get in touch if you think that's useful. Another thing that myself and Torie have presented on a few times as well is on accessibility and social media and websites and stuff, which I know is going to be a topic later. But just to point out that Torie is a published author in that as well. So yes, no, definitely please do. The emails and screens, partners@guidedogs.org.uk, or speak to us after if you're interested in the training. We can make it accommodating for you and your particular business needs as well. So we'd love to hear from you. So thank you, Torie, for that demonstration.
No problem at all.
I think Vivvy's ready for you to come back now.
Pleasure.
Thank you, folks. There she is.